Senator Warren.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for all the hard work that you have done to draw attention to the impact of Alzheimer's on families all across this country. I'd like to look at another aspect of Alzheimer's. The Alzheimer's Association estimates that in 2016, 5.4 million people will be living with Alzheimer's, and that more than 2/3 of them will be women. For a long time, scientists thought that this lopsided figure was solely because women live longer than men. But new research suggests that biological and genetic sex differences may contribute to the higher disease incidence among women as well. Now, it seems pretty obvious that researchers should be looking for sex differences when they study Alzheimer's. The 1993 NIH Revitalization Act requires the enrollment of women in clinical research, and today about half of all trial enrollees are women. But according to a report that I requested from the Nonpartisan Government Accountability Office that was published last fall, there isn't much information about what that breakdown looks like inside particular NIH institutes or disease areas like Alzheimer's. And despite the law, we also don't know whether researchers are actually complying with the requirement to analyze sex differences in their studies. Dr. Peterson, could you explain why it is important to consider sex as a variable in medical research in Alzheimer's disease?
Well, thanks, Senator Warren. I think that is an important issue, and I think it's receiving increasing attention. There are entities within the Alzheimer's Association, other advocacy groups that are really focusing on women's issues in Alzheimer's disease. There are even women researchers against Alzheimer's disease, led by Robbie Britton at the University of Southern California. It is an important issue, and it does vary over time. While there are more women with Alzheimer's disease than men, partly because they live longer, but there, as you imply, there are biological explanations. The hormonal interaction of certain genetic characteristics and perhaps treatment characteristics actually do fluctuate over time. Remember the Women's Health Initiative. It implied that maybe if you treat people with estrogen, women with estrogen after menopause, that will protect them against Alzheimer's disease. Turned out that when you treated women with estrogen later in life, it was actually an increased risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. So it may be that there's a bimodal type of an effect. If you treat early, it's protective. You treat it later, it's not protective. That implies not only is there a sex interaction, but there may be a genetic interaction as well. So apolipoprotein E4 is a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease. Normal protein, we all have it, comes in 3 varieties, E2, E3, E4. The E4 variety portends an increased risk for Alzheimer's disease. It's about equally distributed in men and women, but it plays out differently in men than in women. And that may, in fact, be due to the hormonal influence of estrogen, estradiol, progesterone, the treatments that are used for treating individuals with Alzheimer's disease, trying to protect. So it's a very active area of research. At Mayo, we have a group that's looking at women's issues in health, women's issues in Alzheimer's disease as well. So I think it's going to play out more, hopefully, more productively in the next few years.
Oh, thank you very much. That's really very helpful, Dr. Peterson, and reminds us that there may be whole dimensions of exploration here when we're looking at sex-linked characteristics that may be very important. Senator Collins and I have been working on this issue together, and earlier this week we joined with our colleagues to introduce the Advancing NIH Strategic Planning and Representation in Medical Research Act. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but you get what it's about. The new bill would ensure that more women are included in clinical research and that detailed information about enrollment in trials by women and minorities be shared publicly. Our bill would also help ensure that sex-specific data and analyses will actually be conducted and reported, and that sex is considered as a potentially important variable in preclinical studies. And just this this morning, the Senate Help Committee reported that bill to the floor of the Senate. So we're starting to see some movement on this. You know, there is still much work to do. Real progress on Alzheimer's and other brain-related diseases and injuries require more funding from NIH. And this is truly an area where we get what we pay for. And right now, we are not investing enough to stop Alzheimer's. We must do better on this.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. But I just do want to add one point on this, and that is to express my gratitude to Senator Collins for her leadership on the Advancing NIH Strategic Planning and Representation in Medical Research Act, because this is an important step in making sure that women are full participants in medical research. Over time, this will make a huge difference in the lives of women around the country and around the world, and it has the potential to speed health breakthroughs for women who struggle with or who are at risk for Alzheimer's. It is an example of what the Senate can do with extraordinary leaders and when we try to work together on both sides of the aisle. So I just want to say again, thank you to all of you for the work that you do by coming here and pushing us, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you, Senator Collins.
Thank you, Senator Warren.